Hi everyone, it's Sunday, September 22nd, 2019. I have a great article written here by a wonderful Christian woman named Christy, and she's super brave, and we wish that the country had a lot more women like her and more men that would step up so that she could do other things. Here it is. It's in jeffreywinehouse.wordpress.com, and we'll put the link in the description below, and it's called Demand Justice for Jeffrey Winehouse, Missouri journalist shot and caged for speaking the truth. New evidence becomes public that sheds a whole new light on the 2012 Missouri State Highway Patrol shooting of journalist Jeffrey Winehouse. As we approach the 7th anniversary of the shooting of journalist Jeffrey Winehouse by the Missouri State Highway Patrol, new evidence has become public that reveals several Brady violations by multiple government offices, as well as an active cover-up extending all the way up to the Missouri State Attorney General's office. This new evidence also exposes the shooting officer as mentally unfit to make the crucial life and death decisions that come along with the responsibility of carrying a badge and a gun. Jeffrey Winehouse produced a local newsletter called The Bulletin starting in 1996, as well as ran the website jeffwinehouse.com. He was active in working to expose political corruption. He was also a candidate for county coroner in Crawford County. On September 11, 2012, he was shot 4 times, twice in the head and twice in the chest. Let me add by hollow points, at practically point-blank range, by Missouri State Highway Patrol Trooper Sergeant Henry James Folsom at a rural gas station parking lot in St. Clair, Missouri. Leading up to this encounter, Sergeant Folsom had illegally confiscated computers from Winehouse's home office in violation of RSMO 043200. Folsom then broke protocol by having Winehouse meet him at a rural gas station to have his computers returned. 13 seconds after stepping out of the vehicle, Winehouse was shot 4 times and left in critical condition. Not long after he had recovered enough to be released from the hospital, Winehouse was arrested and charged with armed criminal action and assaulting an officer by shooting him. This was after Winehouse himself had been shot 4 times. Winehouse did have a gun and a holster on his hip, but he was a licensed carrier in a legal open carry state. He made no mention of his gun and no attempt to draw it, which is proven by eyewitness testimony, FBI witness depositions, and a video of the incident. Most of this evidence was withheld from the trial. No bullets were fired other than from the guns of 2 MSHP troopers on the scene who shot Winehouse. Through the suppression of evidence, including the mental state of the trooper who shot Winehouse, a false image was painted in trial, and the jury never saw anything resembling the truth. To further suppress the rights of Mr. Winehouse to have a fair trial, he was fitted with an 80,000-volt shock cuffs that could be activated with the flip of a switch from a deputy during the trial, which prevented him from being able to speak in defense of himself. These cuffs were purchased specifically for Winehouse, costing the taxpayers $1,500. Winehouse was subsequently sentenced to 30 years in Missouri State Department of Corrections, where he is still currently sitting today under a gag order. During the trial, evidence was withheld from the jury which would have proven Jeffrey's innocence, including FBI witness depositions as well as eyewitness testimonies that all swear that there was nothing in his hands when he was shot. His hands were visible by many witnesses who were not called to trial. This evidence alone was enough to exonerate Winehouse of any wrongdoing, but it was withheld. The shooting officer made many contradictory statements in court. One statement was that Winehouse had his gun in a holster on his right hip and began to draw the weapon with his right hand. A still shot of the video from the incident clearly shows Winehouse was holstered on the left side. He was also left-handed. FBI agents stated in their depositions that they could see the full, unobstructed view of the right side, and there was no holster on that side. The agents who made statements that contradicted the shooting officer's testimony were not called to trial. He was convicted on the shooting officer's words alone. Also withheld from this trial is the biggest piece of evidence, which has been sealed until recently, that would have revealed, if not withheld by the prosecution, that the shooting officer was suffering from PTSD from a previous shooting in 2000, where he shot and killed another man under questionable circumstances, stating the same thing that he did during the trial of Jeffrey Winehouse to justify shooting him 4 times. I had to eliminate him as a threat, quote. Factual background. Folsom was employed as a trooper with the Highway Patrol starting in January 1997. Folsom was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, after he was involved in a work-related shooting in 2000. In September 2012, when Folsom had the rank of sergeant and was a criminal investigator with the Highway Patrol, he was involved in a second work-related shooting. This second shooting incident exacerbated his PTSD. Folsom did not return to work at the patrol after the 2012 shooting of Winehouse. Once he used up his available leave time, Folsom's employment with the Highway Patrol was terminated in December 2014. Trooper Folsom was on heavy medication for his PTSD and questioned his own ability to determine a threat. He voiced fears to a doctor that he might shoot someone who was only reaching for their wallet. Court documents reveal that one doctor even reported Folsom told him that because of his experience in the 2 prior shooting incidences, he will never work in law enforcement again. Because his PTSD gives him false signals of being under threat, he is fearful of pulling a gun and shooting someone when they are merely reaching into their back pocket for a wallet, etc. Dr. Lutz, L-U-T-Z, concluded that Folsom is not psychologically capable of returning to his job with the Missouri State Highway Patrol. In June 2014, Folsom met with Dr. Wayne Stillings. According to Dr. Stillings' report, Folsom told him that because of his experience in the 2 prior shooting incidences, he will never work in law enforcement again. Because his PTSD gives him false signals of being under threat, he is fearful of pulling a gun and shooting someone when they are merely reaching into their back pocket for a wallet, etc. Between October and December 2014, Dr. Edwin Wolfgram, W-O-L-F-G-R-A-M, interviewed Folsom. In his report, Dr. Wolfgram indicated that Folsom would not be able to understand, remember, and carry out simple instructions. Let me just add, like murder people. To make judgments that are commensurate with functions of unskilled work, i.e. simple work-related decisions. To respond appropriately to supervision, coworkers, and usual work situations, or to deal with changes in a routine work setting. In addition, in May 2015, Folsom was seen by Philip Eldred, E-L-D-R-E-D, a certified doctor, I think, certified something. After the shooting of Winehouse, Folsom was suspended and later terminated from the MSHP. Folsom then sued the MSHP for the loss of his job. The case was sealed In a mutual agreement by both parties, the court upheld the Highway Patrol's decision to terminate the employment of Trooper Folsom. Through the release of the court documents, we see a very different man that he painted himself to be in court. Through these documents, we see that Folsom had severe issues that distorted his perception and decision-making abilities. We see that several doctors affirmed that he was in no way fit to handle his duties, let alone handle a gun. The picture we now see is a man under severe mental limitations who was taking powerful mind-altering medication, questioning his own judgment, and voicing fear of shooting someone in a reaction to his PTSD, not due to an actual presented threat. He was afraid he was going to shoot an innocent man, and he did. I'm pausing for a reason. I hope you hear that. Jeff Winehouse has had a habeas corpus sitting for almost 3 years in the federal court of Missouri. The evidence of Trooper Folsom's mental state, his previous shooting, as well as all of the other evidence that exonerated Winehouse would have been known to Missouri State Attorney General Josh Hawley, Hawley. That's the Attorney General currently in Missouri State, which obligated him by duty to intercede, but instead it was withheld from his office. The petition for habeas corpus was denied without the opportunity to appeal. Along the course of the last 7 years, every single person in a position of power whose hand the Jeffrey Winehouse case has fallen into has failed him, as well as failed their title.
He's no longer the Attorney General.
Oh, sorry, he was the Attorney General, now it's Eric Schmidt, but at the time it was his duty. Justice has been blinded by the very people meant to serve and protect. Our judicial system is meant to protect us. It is meant to serve justice. When it fails, there must be an answer. There must be a rectification. Where injustice was done, it must be righted. Jeffrey Winehouse was shot 4 times. He sits in prison to this day, an innocent man with every legal option being denied by courts that have evidence to exonerate him. It is time to set justice straight and not only exonerate Jeffrey Winehouse and release him from his cage, treated worse than a dog, I add, but also to examine the system that was so broken that it resulted in this travesty. Throughout this process, people all the way from county prosecutors to state attorneys have had in their possession information that exonerated an innocent man, a man who had already almost died as a result of the decisions of a state trooper who was mentally unfit to serve in this position he was in. All of these people holding the keys to Jeffrey Winehouse's freedom remained silent and allowed this travesty of justice to occur. Jeffrey Winehouse fought to bring accountability and justice back into our judicial system. He fought for the victims. He is now an innocent man, a victim not once but twice to the broken system he tried to change. He was shot, then falsely convicted to a prison sentence that equates to the rest of his life. He was never given the chance for the physical therapy and care that he needed. He will have permanent physical damage for the rest of his life. He has already lost 7 years. With responsibility, there must come accountability. As citizens, we demand accountability and justice for the false arrest and conviction of Jeffrey Winehouse. As citizens, we demand answers. To read the case of Sergeant Henry James Folsom against the MSHP, go to, and we'll add that link as well. Thank you for tuning in, and please pray for the Winehouse family. This is an absolute travesty of justice, and it needs to be rectified immediately.
FreeJeffNow.
FreeJeffNow.com.